right, so we're diving deep today into something that I gotta admit has always kind of perplexed me.
Okay.
And that is this whole thing about Los Angeles and wildfires.
Mm.
I mean, seriously, it seems like every time you turn around, LA is bracing for another firestorm.
Right.
But here's the thing that gets me.
Yeah.
We always hear about these fires happening in like the dead of summer, right? When everything's bone dry and the heat is just relentless.
Yeah.
But then you see these news reports of wildfires raging in LA in like the middle of winter.
Uh-huh.
And that's what I just can't wrap my head around.
Right.
I mean, winter, you think rain, you think things cooling down.
Yeah.
So how is it that Los Angeles seems to be a tinderbox, even when it's not exactly scorching outside? You know?
Well, you've hit on something that's a really good question, and frankly, it's one that a lot of people have.
Right.
And to get to the bottom of it, we've got to kind of unpack a few things about LA's environment.
Okay.
Its climate, and yeah, even some of the, well, let's just say some of the more intriguing theories out there.
Or I am all ears.
So first off, let's talk about this Mediterranean climate that LA is famous for, right?
Okay.
We think mild winters, a bit of rain, those postcard perfect sunny days.
Right.
But here's the catch. That rain that we think of as like nature's fire extinguisher,
Yeah.
it doesn't actually wipe the slate clean when it comes to fire risk.
Okay, so that's what throws me off. I feel like rain should be a reset button, right?
Sure.
You get to get soaking everything's jammed,
Right.
fire danger over.
Well, not quite. And that's because of the type of ecosystem that dominates Southern California.
Okay.
It's called chaparral.
Chaparral.
Yeah, it's this dense, shrubby vegetation that's actually adapted to fire. And get this, it's almost like it's designed to burn quickly.
Really?
Yeah, and then regenerate. So those winter rains that we get, they actually bring new growth, which then dries out pretty quickly.
Ah.
And guess what that becomes?
More fuel.
More fuel for potential fires.
Okay, so even with the rain, Mother Nature is kind of setting the stage for the next fire season.
Yeah, you could say that, and then you add in another layer of complexity with those infamous Santa Ana winds.
Oh, yeah, those are legendary, right? Like, those got to be a huge part of the equation.
Absolutely. Those winds are a major player in LA's fire story.
So remind me what exactly causes those Santa Ana winds?
Well, they originate in the Great Basin, which is a high-pressure zone east of California.
Okay.
And as these winds blow westward towards the coast, they descend and they compress. And what happens is they become incredibly hot and dry.
Yeah.
And they just whip through these canyons and mountain passes, drying out the vegetation even further.
Oh, man.
And if there's already a fire burning,
With the game over?
like throwing gasoline on it, those winds fan the flames and make it incredibly difficult to control.
It's like trying to fight a fire with a giant hairdryer blowing in your face.
Exactly. And, it's interesting because we hear a lot about these devastating fires in other parts of the world, too, right? Like in Colorado, Canada, places that don't have Santa Ana winds.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Those fires, like up in Canada recently, those were massive.
Right. And it makes you wonder, are there similar wind patterns at play in those regions?
Yeah.
Or are there totally different factors driving those events?
Good question.
Well, it turns out that while every region definitely has its own unique set of conditions, those powerful dry winds often play a significant role in major wildfire events around the world. Like think of the Chinook winds in the Rocky Mountains.
Right.
Or the Diablo winds here in California.
Okay.
These winds can quickly turn what might have been a small, manageable fire into a raging inferno.
So it's like the wind is the accelerant.
Absolutely, and it's one of those forces of nature that firefighters really have to contend with.
Okay, so we've got this landscape that's primed for fire, these winds that can turn a spark into a conflagration.
Right.
And then you add in the element of human activity.
Exactly.
Because, let's be real, humans start a lot of these fires, either accidentally or sometimes intentionally.
Sadly, that's true.
So it makes me wonder, could climate change be making those human-caused fires even more frequent or intense?
That's a really important point, and the answer is most likely yes.
Okay.
Climate change is a huge factor here. It's leading to hotter, drier conditions, which means the vegetation is more flammable for longer periods.
So it's like the fire season is getting longer.
Exactly. And we're also seeing more extreme weather events like heat waves, droughts, all of which create those perfect conditions for wildfires to ignite and spread rapidly.
So it feels like we're walking this tightrope between natural cycles and human actions.
Yeah.
And the stakes are just getting higher and higher.
Right.
While we were researching for this deep dive, we came across some pretty interesting theories about these fires.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically, the idea that certain groups might actually benefit from them.
It's a bit of a rabbit hole, but a fascinating one nonetheless.
So what are some of the theories that are out there?
Well, one of the more prevalent theories is that real estate developers might see an opportunity in burned land. The idea is they could buy up that land cheaply after a fire
Right.
and then redevelop it for profit.
So it's like a cynical way to exploit a tragedy.
Yeah. There's also the suggestion that companies providing fire suppression services might have a vested interest in more fires.
Wow.
Okay.
That's a pretty bold claim.
It is, and it's important to remember that these are just theories.
Right.
We're not saying that these things are definitely happening.
Okay, no,
But it's definitely interesting to consider the different perspectives and potential motivations that might be at play.
it's like a real-life conspiracy thriller.
Yeah, guys.
But like you said, we got to stay critical and look for concrete evidence.
Exactly.
Not just jump to conclusions.
Right.
So after diving into all of this, it seems like LA's year-round wildfire risk really boils down to this perfect storm of factors.
It does.
You've got the Mediterranean climate, the dry vegetation,
Yeah.
those powerful Santa Ana winds,
Right.
human actions, both accidental and intentional.
And, of course, the overarching influence of climate change.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like a multi-layered problem with no easy solutions.
It really is, and that complexity makes it all the more important to ask ourselves some tough questions.
Like what?
Well, if we know that these risks are always there looming in the background,
Yeah.
what more can we do to prepare for these events and potentially prevent them from happening in the first place?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
And one that we all need to be thinking about.
Absolutely.
Well, I think that's a great place to leave it for today.
Huh.
Thanks for helping me unpack this whole LA wildfire puzzle.
My pleasure. It's a topic that deserves a lot more attention.
For sure. All right, everyone, until next time, stay safe and stay curious.
Bye.
Bye.